Jordan and Gretzky, Serena and Ruth. Remembering great ones is easy to do.
But what about the no-names who spent their whole lives long snapping footballs and catching sack flies? They're guys, remember that guy. Remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy.
They're just gonna remember some guys now.
Caleb Freeman is the holder. Snap, kick is up, and good! Hawaii has done it! Unbelievable, gritty performance by Remember That Guy, the show where we mine our memories for nuggets of nostalgia about peripheral players, past and present. Hey there, folks, it is me, one of your hosts, James, and I'm not joined by a guy who just got married, but I am joined by someone associated with this year's biggest podcast-related wedding. Very special guest, please introduce yourself.
I'm trying to think, what's the best angle there? Is the angle going to be that I'm somehow going to be at Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's wedding? Or is the angle that Diaz's wedding is the greatest podcast wedding of the year? Either way, I'm the very special guest, Xavier.
Yeah, I would say until a date is set, Diaz's wedding was the biggest podcast-related wedding of the year. And folks, that is why Diaz is not here today. But Xavier is here. And you know what I'm guessing Xavier probably brought with him as we spend a week waiting for our friend Diaz to return? I'm pretty sure he brought some memories that are being made for him right now.
I did. And this one is hot off the presses because it just happened literally a minute ago. Grimsby Town beat Manchester United.
Oh, did they hold
in
on?
penalties.
Wait, it got to penalties? I saw it 2-0.
Okay, it was 2-0. Grimsby Town went up 2-0. They scored to go up 3-0, but it was waved off for offside. I don't like that call because he was offside, but it felt to me like a deliberate play by Harry Maguire, the defender. I thought it should have been 3-0. They scored. Brian Mbeumo, one of their 3 big money signings of the summer, scored in the 75th minute. And then Harry Maguire scored off a corner in the 89th minute to tie it up. Went to penalties. This penalty shootout is one of the craziest ones I have ever seen before. First 2 on each side make it. The third for Grimsby misses. And at that point, they're playing catch-up. 5th penalty taker for Man United is Matheus Cunha, one of their other big money signings. So the 3 big money summer signings were all forwards: Matheus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, and Benjamin Sesko. Cunha misses the penalty that would have won it. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row for each team score, including the goalkeepers. So they have to go to the top of the order again. And on the 13th penalty kicks for each team, Dara Burns scores for Grimsby Town, and Brian Mbeumo misses. He hits the crossbar, bounces out, Manchester United out. One of their worst losses in history. 2 of their big summer signings choke in the penalty shootout. Their third one went last of all the outfield players because he was too afraid to take a penalty despite being a 80 million pound striker. And Ruben Amorim, their coach, was hiding in the dugout. He was too afraid to watch, so the cameras found him curled up in a ball in the dugout, looking like such a loser that our good friend Diaz just called it a fireable offense for him hiding. And I agree. Absolutely insane. Biggest win probably ever for Grimsby Town. They did have a couple of years in the first division 80 years ago, but with how big soccer is now and the fact that this was so unexpected, a 4th division team against Manchester United, and a Manchester United that played their full starting 11. This isn't one of those teams where a lot of times in the early Carabao Cup rounds you put out a bunch of teenagers because you don't really care if you win. You just don't want to make everyone super tired. You want to rotate. No, this was the best Man United squad, and they lost to a 4th division team. So they just invested over £200 million in these signings that do not look great, and they paid a bunch for Amorim last year, mid-season. So, it'd be crazy to get rid of him now, but it has been really bad for them ever since he took over. And I don't know how much longer you can stick with him, but I don't know if they can afford to really do anything else. We'll see. Either way, love it. 12-11 on penalties. Up the Mariners of Grimsby Town. I would be shocked if anyone other than maybe our good friend Leon knows where Grimsby Town is on a map. But love it. Two other things that were very interesting to me that I did want to talk about. And we're sticking with Europe. I'm still saying the UK is Europe. I don't care about it not being the EU. It's still Europe to me. Because EuroBasket is on. And the UK is in EuroBasket, so that counts. I'm a big fan of EuroBasket. We have so many good European players in the NBA. But there's also so many teams that have no NBA players. Or their only NBA player is like the 14th man on a roster somewhere who doesn't play at all. And I love watching those teams play. And today we had a great moment for one country. And that country is Portugal. So Portugal is 56th in the FIBA rankings. That is very low. They have one NBA player.
I can't... go ahead, yeah, because I can't think of one.
It's Neemias Queta, who is a backup on the Celtics, who spends more time on the main Celtics than the actual Boston Celtics. He is the only NBA player ever on Portugal. They don't have any former ones. They just have this one dude. And today, they were playing against the Czech Republic. And Portugal won 62-50. And this is their first win at the Euros in 18 years. 2022, 2017, 2015, 2013, they didn't qualify. 2011, they qualify, they lose all 5 games. 2009, they don't qualify. So it was 2007 in Spain, the last time they won a single game at the EuroBasket, and they have now won their first game against the Czech Republic, a team ranked 19th, who were expected to be a knockout stage team at least. So absolutely love that. Good on Portugal. You know, I like to see all these smaller teams do interesting stuff during the group stage because in the end, you know, what's going to happen is we're going to get Serbia, Slovenia, Spain, France, Germany at the end. Serbia won today 98-64. Jokic in 23 minutes almost had a triple-double. 11, 10, and 7 again in 23 minutes. Germany beat up on Montenegro by 30. Finland got one over on the neighbor Sweden 93-90. Turkey beat Latvia by 20, which was interesting. But I'm super excited to see, you know, what happens with EuroBasket. There's some really, really good games that are coming up. We get France versus Slovenia on Saturday. Unfortunately, France does not have Wemby. He did not participate, so we do not get to see Wemby versus Luka.
Nothing unfortunate about that. Please let my large adult mon grand fils adulte français recover from his, you know, terrifying blood clot.
Fair enough, but there's going to be some great games. And then the last one is, it is still baseball season. Not talking about actual baseball that's being played now. I want to talk about future baseball and future baseball cities. Because expansion is all over the news right now. James, do you know the 6 cities that are the front runners for expansion?
I don't know if Oakland is included. I believe I've seen lists that include Portland.
Portland is one.
Nashville.
Yep.
I got a couple. Portland, Nashville. I saw someone saying OKC, but I don't think that was on like a list that MLB is considering. Orlando? Was Orlando on there? Yeah. I would guess somewhere in like the Research Triangle of North Carolina. I don't know if they would call that Raleigh or Durham, but like, yeah. I'm going to tap out there. I'm pretty good with 4 out of 6.
So you're missing Austin.
Sure.
And then you're missing the one that is apparently number 1, an absolute lock on the list. It's Salt Lake City.
Dude, I mean, this came out when like they were talking about moving the Sacramento/Yolo County A's. Like I remember someone saying, "Yo, Salt Lake City's making a play." I was like, "Fuck is Salt Lake City doing over there?" I mean, good for the Mormons, I guess. I've been doing a weird amount of research on Mormons this week, so cool. I guess that's appropriate.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. Salt Lake City is by far the number 1 option. They have the Miller family, who used to own the Jazz, and also, I was looking this up recently for other reasons, own literally everything in Utah. Like, they own stuff in every single industry. It's insane how much the Miller family owns. And that's after selling off their auto dealership firm for like $3 billion or something like that. Yeah, $3.2 billion. They still own everything in Utah. And apparently they're just so well liked and so well trusted and have committed so much money. And because they already own everything anyway, they have no obstacles to building, that MLB's like, yep, you're number one. We love you guys.
We have currently we have 1.5, because one is going to be in Las Vegas at some point soon. There's already 2 cities that quote unquote have MLB teams that shouldn't exist and are testaments to mankind's hubris and will have basically no water available to them. The other one being Phoenix, featuring the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like, Utah's almost out of water, and their only water is a giant salt lake. It just seems a little short-sighted for like the oldest sport in North America to say, yeah, let's get a third city that basically won't be able to sustain human life in like 50 years. I mean, none of the cities will be able to sustain human life in like 50 years, but still, this one's going to be top of the list.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but it looks like it's going to be Salt Lake City and Nashville. Nashville's the other front runner. And interesting about Orlando is they seem to know that they're not getting an expansion team, but their angle is get in MLB's good graces so much that when the Rays inevitably fail and they want to keep them in Florida, they just move to Orlando, which is not the worst idea. It's not the worst play.
No, I will say picking Nashville and Salt Lake City over Oakland is one of the more racist things that a sport that actively barred back people from playing for like 50 years has ever done.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's where the money is and where the political support is to spend a lot of public money on stadiums. Because the tier down from those 6 was Montreal, San Jose, Vancouver, Charlotte, if they choose North Carolina and don't want Raleigh. And then at the bottom of that list was Oakland. They just do not seem interested in going back to Oakland at all. So I doubt that will happen anytime soon. But it will be interesting to live in a world where there are 2 more baseball teams.
And I will believe that we are going to live in that world when we are in it. Color me quite pessimistic.
And we get realignment. Who knows what division people will be in? The O's could be in a different division than the Yankees never play each other again. What if it was O's, Nats, Phillies, Pirates?
Stupid. It's a stupid division. The only people that would hate each other in that are fucking Phillies and Nationals, because they already do. And even then, I don't think the Phillies hate the Nationals. I think they feel bad for them. I will believe realignment when we see it. I'm not all that optimistic that Manfred's going to get it done or that his successor will get it done.
Well, speaking of things that you're either not optimistic for or optimistic for, James, what's been making memories for you?
I am quite optimistic about one in the realm of baseball, which is where I want to stay. You know, we love promotions at baseball games. Xavier, have you ever been to a dollar dog night?
I have not. Actually, have I? May have been to $1 dog night. I think it was for the Phillies, and I think I left after the 3rd inning.
Have you ever been to a 72-cent dog night?
I have not, but now we're getting to that point. What was it? The 10-cent beer night when they had to stop the game. Lower that cost too much, then you'll have dogs flying from the stands.
That's literally already happened in Philadelphia multiple times. But what we are talking about is the current Canadian to US exchange rate, because if you spend a single loonie on a hot dog in Toronto, that is approximately 72 American cents. And so that is how much a dog does cost you in US dollars on Loonie Dog Night, which the Blue Jays have been having for a number of seasons now, every Tuesday home game. They, just the other night, set the new single game record. This was on August 26th, another Tuesday, against the Minnesota Twins. They had 42,235 fans in attendance. Xavier, give me a guess for hot dog. It is a new record. I will give you that much help.
Say the number of fans again.
42,235 fans.
I'm going to say 4 dogs a fan. So I'm going to say 168,000 dogs.
4 dogs. So you're assuming not only 4 dogs a fan, but that no fans are abstaining from dogs, which is, I'll let you know, sheer
average. I'm sure there will be someone who eats like 7 or 8 dogs.
That's absolute madness, Xavier. I'm sorry. I do need to rein you in.
The 999 challenge. There are people that do 9 beers and 9 dogs in 9 innings.
I look forward to joining them someday. 92,063 dogs. That's what we were looking for. 92,063 dogs.
That's less than I thought. I could eat 3 dogs.
2.18 dogs per person. And that is, like you said, averaged around. There are, I'm sure, some people who ate 9 along with 9 beers and 9 innings. But 92,063 dogs, that is the equivalent of $66,285.36 US. And in 2024, over a full season, they set the record for an entire season with 727,819 total dogs. 727,819 total dogs. Statistics on this are limited, but I want to let you all know I will be monitoring the situation as we go down to see if 2025 is able to top 2024. So that was a little bite-sized thing for you, an amuse-bouche. The thing that I want to talk about that is making memories for me, it is a little optimistic. I'm taking a risk here. I want to talk about a team of mine that's doing quite well on this show, because I don't know if you heard, the Las Vegas Aces just clinched a playoff spot.
They're back.
7th straight year reaching the playoffs. And I want to admit one thing real quick. I was never worried about them missing the postseason this year. At no point did I think the Aces were not going to be in the playoffs. But I will also admit that a little less than a month ago, I was worried that they were set up as an easy first round exit. They were, at that point, 14-14. They had battled back to get to 14-14 after being 2 games below 500. And you look around the league, Kelsey Plum is killing it in LA after she's doing great with Dearica Marie Hamby, another former ace over there. Jewel Lloyd, her replacement, has been good all season, but they just still hadn't really figured out her fit in the rotation. Chelsea Gray looked diminished. Jackie Young, I don't even want to necessarily say diminished. I just think we expected there was going to continue to be more leaps taken by Jackie Young. She got just plateaued. Still a very good player. They still just weren't a deep team. And this all kind of came to a head when in that stretch leading up to 14-14, they had 2 losses within a week to the Minnesota Lynx. The first one was in Minnesota. It was a loss of 31 points. It was a pretty bad loss, which they immediately made everyone forget about when they took the second one of those losses, their 14th loss on the season, 111-58. Drubbing is insufficient. Bludgeoning is insufficient. Beatdown, massacre, all of these are insufficient for the 53-point loss that they suffered to the Minnesota Lynx. Those 2 combined games, they lost by 84 points. Things were looking bad. And since then, they have not lost a single game. And yes, there have been some games against Dallas and Washington and Chicago and Connecticut, teams that are not what you would call good this year, but they're also 7-0 against teams that are in, at this current point, playoff position. We're looking at Golden State. We're looking at Seattle. We're looking at Phoenix, Atlanta, your New York Liberty. They have beaten all of those teams in this 11-game win streak. And I want to make it clear, this is almost certainly going to end, if not by the time you hear this, because they play the Atlanta Dream again tonight. Very good team. And they will be taking on Minnesota next. There's a weird week gap, I think partially because of EuroBasket, actually. Their last 3, very soft. If they happen to extend it to a W13, a W16 is in play, we're thrilled with a W11. We're thrilled with a playoff team. They are very well set up for good seeding. And if I'm being objective, I think they're maybe the 3rd or 4th best team in the league. I would still easily take Minnesota or New York over them. And I would probably lean towards Atlanta just because Atlanta feels a little hungrier. There is still the thing that the Aces core, the 3 most important players to the team are Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray. They've been there. They've done that. They don't have that edge that you have when you're chasing. But the people like Nalissa Smith, who came over in a huge midseason trade. The people like Jewel Lloyd, who are finding their place in there now. And the fact that Asia Wilson is once again in probably a 2-woman race for MVP with Nafisha Collier. I would love, for your sake, to see Sabrina get some first place votes as well.
I have someone else who I want to talk about for MVP voting, but I'll let you finish first.
I mean, if Asia were to win, which she's in a perfectly fine position to do so at this point, it really is kind of a let's see how these last 2 weeks of games go. and then pick your favorite, because I think you can make cases for all of them. But if she won, it would be an unprecedented 4th MVP award for my girl. Viva Las Vegas, man. I'm thrilled that the Aces have been excited again. I don't think they're going to win the title this year, but the W11's been really fun. And so the Aces are making memories for me right now.
Love the W. And because of that, I can't pass up the opportunity to talk about Alyssa Thomas. Because for those who don't know, Alyssa Thomas just had her 7th triple-double of the season last night. While sick, she had 12 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists. She is the first player in WNBA history to ever have a 15-assist, 15-rebound game. First ever. And of these 7 triple-doubles that she has this year, 6 have happened in August. No other WNBA player has ever had more than 1 in a month before. No other WNBA player has ever had more than 4 in their career. So, the non-Alyssa Thomas...
The Russell Westbrook Hive has found their new player.
It's 4 ever. Alyssa Thomas is 7, including 6 this month. It's absolute insanity. She is essentially single-handedly leading the Mercury to the playoffs. They are the 4th seed currently, in between your Aces and my Liberty, who fell off a bit while Breanna Stewart was out for 13 games. But now that she is back, I'm sure they will make
you're one of the 2 best teams
a good account of themselves in the playoffs. Alyssa Thomas carrying this team it's incredible because, like, obviously, I think Nafisa Collier is the MVP because she's the best player on the best team. When you're 6 games ahead of everyone else and average margin of victory is double digits, and you have a player who's averaging 24 and 8, it's like, yeah, that's the MVP. But Alyssa Thomas...
I will say there's an incredibly talented scorer who's in the top 5 in both blocks and steals because she's also the greatest defensive player in WNBA history. I'm just putting that out there.
We know she has gotten her flowers many, many times before. I mean, it's going to be Collier. I would put money on that if I were a gambling man. But Alyssa Thomas, I think what she's done for a team that I don't think is very good outside of her is insanely impressive.
No, I mean, like I said, Phoenix, totally a playoff team. Like, our 2 wins over them during this W11, 2 of the, in my opinion, more impressive ones. Aces are doing great, man. So those are the memories that we are having made for us right now. But here's something, folks, that I don't know if you've heard about this. Another reason that Diaz isn't here is because we are once again in the strange temporal space known as parent time. Xavier and I are responsible for 2 small living beings that are not capable of making memories themselves yet. And as 2 relatively sports-centric individuals with this, I know I have considered, like, what memories are going to be made for the kid. We've gone to some sporting events with the child already. And we just kind of wanted to, like, talk about what we have thought about going into this and what our very brief still experience with kids as sports fans has been so far. And with that, Xavier, the question I kind of want to lead off with, like, in the lead up to baby time, in the lead up to existing in parent time, to becoming unstuck in the temporal flow of things, there are a lot of people that would, ask me, and I'm sure you got these questions a lot too, or comments like, oh, your kid gonna, I'm sure, be at, the Orioles and Ravens games, die hard, painted face, all that, split second that they're out the womb, right? And, I certainly had my own thoughts about that going into it, but I am curious specifically with the questions and comments that people made leading up to having a child. Was there anything that, like, you genuinely weren't thinking about ahead of time? Was there anything where someone said, like, oh, have you considered how you're going to deal with, like, this XYZ aspect of sports fandom with your kid or your kid participating in sports? And you realize, oh, I actually hadn't thought of that yet.
So I think the thing that I hadn't thought about until having the kid and realizing, how much it changes, your schedule in the day and your ability to travel and go do stuff. I wasn't thinking about the fact that for a long time, it's going to be impossible for me to take him to see any of my favorite teams. It's just asking too much to go take him to New York City or to the Meadowlands for a game, because that's such a long day. So it made me realize that we also have gotten some onesies from Philly friends with the Phillies on them, jokingly, but also if I were to take him to a game, it's probably going to be a Philadelphia sports game, just because that's the easiest to do. It's an easy trip for a couple hours and back. And
now, I will point out that, like, in most cities, and this is something that I did while living in Philly, but I'm much stupider than you. In most cities, you can, like, safely as an away fan go and enjoy when your team comes to visit the city and support them there as well. Now, I understand that is a danger to both you and your child's mortal lives if you do that in the city of Philadelphia. So, I understand why you're not doing that, but I'll point out, like, Yankees are going to come to Citizens Bank Park once every 2 years minimum.
I'm trying to think when the last time did they come this year? I don't think so. No, I think the Phillies went to. The.
I'd like to. You can go to 6 games. You can go to Flyers Rangers games. Look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, my friend. I just wanted to point out, as someone that went to a lot of games as an away fan while living in Philadelphia, like, definitely don't deny the kid.
I think the problem with that, at least for the Yankees, if it happens once every couple of years, it's really hard to plan something ahead of time with the baby, because what if they have a really bad day that day? And it's like, all right, well, I guess I can't go anymore, versus if I'm in the Bronx and I can take the subway to a Yankees game, I can just choose, okay, this is a good night. Let's go tonight. And that's not really a thing that we can do. And if we do move back to Philly next year, like we might have to, depending on the trains, if we're there, it'll be much easier to just go to a game when he's feeling good. And that's the interesting thing of, well, he's going to grow up in Philly, or in the Philly area at least. If I'm not around and he just watches a sports thing on the TV, it's probably going to be Philly sports stuff. And if that's what he likes and that's what his friends like, I'm not going to stop him from being a Philly sports fan. But it will be fascinating to think of, like, if my son has a completely different sports fandom than me, and then I have to, because I want to be a good dad, I'm taking him to Philly games and not Philly versus New York games. And then I get to a point where, how many years into living in Philly and going to mostly Philly games, like, what does that do to my fandom? I think I'll still be fine about being a New York sports fan. But if I've been to 10 times as many Philly sports games as New York, what does that do? I mean, your dad adopted Maryland area compared to what his original fandom is. Like,
sure, he also, being from Wilmington and being like, oh yeah, the Phillies are the team I can go see. Like, he would never have called himself a Phillies fan.
Fair enough.
He was a Mets fan. He was totally a Mets fan when he lived in New York. Like, diehard Mets fan, loved the 80s Mets. He was, first and foremost, he was a Johnny Bench fan growing up. Like, he played catcher as a kid in Little League. So, like, Johnny Bench was just the thing that he glommed onto. And he didn't super care about pro football because his dad didn't really care about pro football. So, like, the Ravens weren't replacing anything. So he came in, he liked the Orioles for sure. He definitely didn't continue to root for the Mets really after. Like, he didn't retain the Mets fandom beyond that era. And he did, he fully adopted the Baltimore teams. This is not to say that he did not, once this became his, not hometown, but his home, yes, very much took to those teams at that point. But I do want to make it clear, like, it would be different for you because you are coming with much stronger convictions about your teams early on.
What about you, James? Is there anything that you've been thinking of? You've already taken your child to an Orioles game. I know it wasn't for a long time, but
we're up to two. We're up to two Orioles games. Thank you very much. And 3 baseball games. Love us, the Wilmington Blue Rocks. Yeah, we've gone to some baseball games, 2 innings at a time. We made it to the 3rd inning last time. The 3rd inning was our new record in a game against the Athletics. That's what we went in expecting. And we're going in with those kind of understandable expectations. We also benefit from the fact that children are free at Camden Yards until they are 10 years old. So that's pretty sick, of all the shit that I can complain about with the Orioles. But, okay, so the thing that I thought about the most when people were asking ahead of time, like, oh, are you gonna, you're gonna make sure the kid's an Orioles fan, right? And Ravens and Spurs and Canucks and all of that. And I thought a lot of the time about, so my sister is also at this point, as much as she's a fan of any hockey team, she's a Vancouver Canucks fan. And she adopted that because of me. And since the Vancouver Canucks 2011 Stanley Cup run, which ended in heartbreak, they've not been super fun to watch, really, at any point except for the bubble playoffs. Like, that's the longest sustained period of fun that I have had as a Vancouver fan since then. I don't mind that. Teams are bad. Most teams lose by the end of the year. Everybody but one is going to be kind of pissed off about what happened. But with the Orioles in particular, because everyone knows that that is my favorite team, and that is the one that everybody asks about, I would say, look, I'm not going to force the kid one way or the other. I'm not trying to make them like sports. Their mother does not give a shit about sports. Never really has. Never really will. Exactly. Like, we're in a similar situation there. Like, if this kid just decides that sports isn't for them, cool, sick. The way I have tried to approach raising a kid is like, we are slowly meeting a person. And yeah, we're going to help that person find out the stuff that they like. But I'm still hoping to find out that it is genuinely stuff that they like and aren't just adopting because of me. And everyone in response to this, particularly, the friends that we have that are parents already and are big baseball fans, for example, Andrew Abbott, who joined us for the Guy Centennial, he's got 2 kids. They've both become like pretty big basketball Sixers heads and pretty big baseball fans as well. So, everyone keeps saying, oh, well, they're just going to like what you like. And that really brought up the question, like, yes, the Orioles are my favorite team. Do I like the Orioles? Like, do I actually? And it's a question that is different for me than, say, my mother, who is the reason that I like the Baltimore Orioles. My mother is originally from Baltimore. The only team that she had growing up that I also had growing up was the Orioles. She didn't give a shit about the Colts, really, but like, she really didn't give a shit about the Ravens until Dad decided that we all care about the Ravens very much. And then Mom was like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of a Ravens fan. I'll go in September when it's nice. But like, the Orioles are the team that I was born with, and I didn't get too much of a choice on that one. And the Orioles, pretty much my whole childhood, were the very worst kind of bad team, because they were a bad team that started hot every single year. And this is something that, like, as we learned that my wife, Jessie, friend of the show, as we learned she was pregnant, the Orioles kind of did like the most magnificent version of the thing they had done my whole childhood, which is reduce a hot start to a absolute footnote that is just dwarfed by their absolute incompetence from the moment that hot start ends. Because every year it felt like with the Orioles, as a kid, by the end of a season if your team is bad versus good. Even as a dumb kid, like, you've watched enough baseball at the end of a 6-month season, you can tell when a team is not good. But kids are really stupid. And so 6 months later, you don't remember any of that shit. And after like 2 or 3 weeks, oh my God, the Orioles are 10-4. Hot damn, I think we got something this year. And then you just sit through 6 months of being told exactly how wrong you are. Like if you were an Orioles fan in the late 90s to the early 10s, anytime during that roughly 15-year period, Orioles fandom is just an annual 6-month process of being reminded that God is not real. Like, that's what that was every summer. Nothing bad happens to bad people. The Red Sox and Yankees will win forever, and you will get 2 weeks of hope before having that slowly crushed under a boot for the remainder of the season. Like, that's what it was. And yes, the 2012 team, the 2014 team, the 2023 team, like, when the Orioles are good, and it's pretty much been those 3 years in the lifetime that I remember, it is a transcendental experience for me. It is unlike anything else. And it is unlike anything else because it is a direct contrast to what they have shown themselves to truly be at their core every single other year, which is a bunch of losers, and a bunch of losers that I dearly love and I'm dearly attached to. This is all just to say, like, I'm okay if my kid doesn't like the Orioles. Yes, I would like to share them with them, but I really just want to share them with them because, like, it continues a chain from my mother and from her brothers. And what I've really tried to focus on is, like, more the sports fandom experience that you and Diaz and I think, have cultivated for ourselves over the past almost 4 years, because I have an ever-changing relationship with the Ravens. I don't know if by the time this kid, like, can process football, whether I will still be watching it. If Lamar Jackson's still on the Ravens, I probably will. I'll give you that hint. But if he's not, decent chance that I'm not. It would be great if they like the Spurs and Aces or the Canucks or the Orioles. But really what I want them to enjoy is the experience of attending any sport, and often stupider sport. I mentioned on this show the kinetic sculpture race in Baltimore, where they build, like, the moving parade floats, and Baby has already seen that. Had a great time watching people just absolutely eat shit as they tried to drive these parade floats through water and sand and mud. That was a good time. We all had fun. They'll probably come with me to Hopkins lacrosse games at some point. That's something that we got to do a lot when I was a kid, because pretty cheap. It's really high level lacrosse. I was bummed that we were not able to make the W game earlier this year that was in Baltimore, but they are hosting games like that in Baltimore often. Maybe we'll get a PWHL stop through here at some point. I really just hope that they enjoy the experience of live sport beyond any of the actual team allegiances, beyond any of the actual, like, I need to care about how these 25 individuals that I have no attachment to or no connection to other than them just wearing the correct shirt. Like, I need to base all of my emotional well-being on them now. I'm fine if this is a kid that is much more healthy and removed from that attachment. I am not a, like, healthy sports fan. I'm not a happy person watching my teams a lot of the time. Which is part of why I make sure that we do this show, so that we do celebrate the love that we do deep down have for this hobby that kills us all the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm spinning my wheels here, but this is all to say, I would like to enjoy sports with this kid. The fandom of particular teams simply has not entered into the equation. Though it does kind of beg one other question there, particularly when I'm mentioning, like, the relative health of being a sports fan. I mean, how do you feel about sports participation?
So Kayla and I have talked about that already, and we've already decided that football is definitely out. Just it's not allowed. There's too much downsides that we all know about. Like, the science is already there. As much as I love watching football, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for people, and the downsides are too great. So no football. But pretty much everything else, whatever they want to do, like, if they're very tall so far, so there's been all the basketball jokes about getting Diaz to teach him basketball because he's already in the 92nd percentile for height for 4-month-olds, whatever that extrapolates out to. He loves going in the tub, loves to kick his feet. There's already been the jokes about maybe he's going to be a swimmer. Head down to Baltimore, go to the aquatic center.
NBAC. Much more expensive than it was when we attended. It is not something that this kid can be doing.
Then, there's all the other sports that I play. I played baseball growing up. I played basketball growing up. I played soccer growing up. I always wanted to play tennis, but just couldn't do it. I wanted to play hockey. It was too expensive in my area. But there is a hockey stadium right around the corner from us, so even that's possible. And, if they don't like that kind of stuff, Caitlin was a dancer. If he wants to dance, he can be a dancer. Like, dude, like, dancer, cheerleader.
He can dance if he wants to? What if it requires to leave his friends behind? What if he is required to leave his friends behind?
I don't know if he can do that. I have too many problems with leaving your friends behind and, making giant S's with your hands.
I mean, I'm just saying, if the friends don't dance, like, I would not call them friends.
They're no friends of his. I get it. They're no friends of his. But my parents always wanted me to just try stuff. And I think I'm going to be the same with him, where I just want him to try things. And if he doesn't like it, I'm not going to force him to do it. I feel like I played baseball for too long because my dad loved baseball. And I really fell out of love with it much earlier before I actually stopped doing it. And if I had stopped doing it a couple years earlier, I might have been able to try something else. But I want to make sure that no matter what, I foster an environment where he's open enough to tell me if he doesn't like something. Because I want him to at least try stuff, but if he doesn't like it, I'm not going to make him do it, no matter what it is. As long as he has some sort of hobby that he's doing that keeps him active, I'll be happy.
So are esports included in that?
Hey, if he's good at it, if he can show that he's good at it.
The first day he headshots you.
I don't do shooters, but no League of Legends. I've seen League destroy enough people. He can't play League of Legends. I will block that.
Wob just sneaks it in under his coat to him one day.
No, he just won't get a computer. I'm not giving him a computer to do it.
So I feel similarly in that, again, so I didn't play any organized sport growing up. I was not on any teams, was in some rec leagues, but anything we did was just in the backyard because we didn't have organized sport money. With that being said, there are plenty of organized leagues in Baltimore. A robust city. There's a great write-up in the Baltimore Banner, if you're a local listener, about the Little League setup that's in it. Yeah, if kid likes baseball, awesome, great. If kid likes hockey, we too are very near an ice arena. Maybe they will skate, much like their mother. Maybe they'll bike. It's the one thing, frankly, that I do kind of want to force on the kid a little bit. But even then, cycling is often a singular sport versus it. And I do want the community. I think of, for instance, there's this setup in one of the parks near us. We live in a very Hispanic neighborhood in Baltimore. And every Sunday, there's this incredibly serious soccer game that gets set up in a couple of the parks. Everyone drives onto the field in their cars. People are barbecuing out the back of the cars. Everyone is in uniforms and stuff. This is not an organized league. They've just gotten at some point matching uniforms for the teams. The ref has real ref gear and everything. It's great. And going back to the dumb sports I don't want to attend, this is not me saying this is a dumb game, but this is the kind of stuff I want to bring the kid out to, whether they're a participant or whether they're a spectator. That is the kind of sporting community I want them to be around if they're going to be around any. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll get super into band like I did, or maybe they'll get super into competitive trivia like me and their aunt did, and that'll be their sport like it was for me for 7 years. That's the community that I went to, and it had a lot of the same benefits of sports. Yeah, I wish I was a little bit more athletic, and I'm solid now with all the cycling, but I don't have any regrets about my sports participation, and really, as long as they don't have regrets, regardless of what their level of participation was, I'll also be content. But yeah, I want them to be physically active, and I want for them to be able to create their own sense of community. And those are very, the second one, this is a high
bowling baby.
We are within walking distance of Patterson pins. We can go do that at any point. But even at this point, the duck pin, you want to talk about high percentiles. We got 96th percentile head size over here. Duck pinball's still bigger than this noggin. This kid has an absolute fucking capital N noggin, and it's not even the size of a smaller than usual duck pinball. There's a lot of things that you and I have both gained from sports. Being a parent and getting ready to be a parent has made me realize that I do not have, in a lot of ways, healthy relationships with the sports that I watch, with the teams that I support. And I think it's okay to recognize that. I think it is important that if you recognize that, you work on it. I'm trying to work on it. I'm trying to be a better, healthier person about all of this. But it definitely, in this lead up, and with a wife much like yours who doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff, I have tried to think more deliberately about the pros and cons of what that participation and what that fandom entails. And everyone who has told us that the kid's just going to like whatever we like, yeah, there's probably some truth to that. If they grow up and I'm yelling about the Orioles on the radio several nights a week, they will also learn to yell about the Orioles on the radio. there is only so much we can do about that. We cannot steer them away from these things. More than what I want from the kid. Because again, I try to go into this kid with like very, very little expectations, very little things that I want from them. Because I don't know what they want. We are meeting a new person who wants whatever they are going to want. We'll find out what that is. But I do appreciate that having a kid has made me want to be better about my fandom. And most of what that means is really address the unhealthier aspects. Like address the fact that, man, I shouldn't feel as horrible as I did, 3 months ago when the Orioles are 15-32 or whatever. Like, ultimately, that doesn't fucking matter. It's pointless. It sucks. I hate how bad they are. I hate how bad they've been my whole life. I hate how bad I expect them to be for the rest of my life. At least they'll be bad with Samuel Basallo for 8 years, but they will continue to be bad because they're the Baltimore Orioles, and that's just what they do. And like even that sentence right now, that was a deeply unhealthy approach. And that is something that I need to work on and not pass on to this child who I want to be better than me in every single way. I think that's the sentiment I kind of want to end on, though I'll leave the floor open to you if you have any other final thoughts. But like really, rather than making me want things for this kid and them to have specific sports feelings or experiences, they make me want to make sure I'm doing a better job approaching all of those in a healthy way and modeling it for them in a healthy way so that if they choose to have that be a part of their life, they will not be as emotionally stunted as their parent is.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, I would much rather, as much as I want to have a sports relationship with my son, I would rather he have no relationship with sports than an unhealthy relationship with sports. There have been plenty of times where I have been irrationally upset by sports results, and thankfully that has not happened as much since he was born. That helps me put things in perspective, but I don't want him to ever be in a situation where he goes to a going away party for a friend and is watching the Stanley Cup finals on his phone and sees the Rangers lose in overtime to the Kings and walks out without saying goodbye to the friend who then moves away for 2 years. Like that is not what I want for him. So I'm hoping that, me being mellowed out from him being born helps with that.
Well, folks, I don't think either of the two of us have said anything particularly profound. Frankly, this is probably a lot of the same thoughts that many sports fans having children have. Hey, if you're someone that's in the process of doing that right now, maybe this is helpful. Even if we didn't say anything profound, we did definitely say roughly one normal episode's length of things. And that's what we're shooting for here. That's the RTG guarantee. With very few exceptions, we will give you one full episode's worth of content as we have today. Thank you for letting the two of us talk about this for a little bit. Thank you to number one wife guy, Justin Diaz, for inviting us to his delightful wedding that we got to be at recently. We look forward to welcoming him back on the show. But even when he's not on the show, there's still people to thank. Those people include producer Craig, all the coders behind him, and our musical director, Don Ham, for that lovely theme music. The number one person, though, that we always want to thank is the girl reading this right now. No, it's you, dear listener. We appreciate you joining us for whatever it is that we call an episode on any given week. Hey, if you made it to the end of this, there will be an Elite Part 9 at some point in the future. I will say nothing more about that at this point, but there will always be more RTG, at least until we get tired of this. Feel free to, as always, check out anything related to the show at bit.ly/rememberthatguy, all one word, all lowercase. So thank you for joining us for this. Thank you for joining us in the future. That is all that I have this week, Xavier. Anything else for you before we make our exit?
Nothing else for me.
And in that case, I have been one of your hosts, James.
I've been the very special guest, Xavier.
And I'm Diaz. And as I can report live from Annapolis, it is not just Naptown. It is also Guytown.
And whether they get the joy out of being a participant or just a attendant and someone watching, someone taking it in, what is the word I'm looking for? What the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Someone who's viewing sports. A fan? A fan attendant.
A spectator?
Spectator. Spectator is the word I was looking for. Thank you, Xavier. Like,